This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform to help you stand out and succeed online, but more on them later. So, this is what a $100 watch looks like. Here's a $500 watch, and this is a $10,000 watch. I'm rounding a little bit. The numbers aren't perfect, but there or thereabouts. And I would say 90% of people wouldn't really be able to tell the difference between these or explain why this one costs $10,000 and why this one costs $100. So let's talk about why these have such different price tags, show the differences between them, and is the Rolex actually that much better than the Timex? Let's start by talking about what these are and what they have in common. On the surface, these are pretty comparable. They each have the GMT complication, so an extra hand on the dial to display multiple time zones at the same time. Pretty cool. And they all have bicolor, bidirectional bezels, which act as day-night indicators and further aid in displaying multiple time zones. The Timex and Rolex look particularly similar with the red-blue colorway, while the Seiko has its own thing going on with a blue-black colorway. They all have some degree of water resistance, with the Rolex and the Seiko both having 100 meters, and the Timex having 50 meters. So those are the things they have in common, and those are really big things. But I always tell people, when you're looking at the different price points of watches, it usually boils down to 4 things. 1, the design. 2, details and finishing. 3, the movement. And 4, the brand. And number 4 particularly sucks to talk about. I wish it wasn't the case. But as time goes on and the more I learn about watches, the more I'm convinced you're paying for brand recognition and strength of a brand. Actually, let's use these 4 points as a framework to highlight what you're actually paying for when you're paying more money for a watch. Starting with the design, and you might be thinking, Brittany, these all look the same. And that is mostly true. But what people need to understand when they're looking at a GMT in this format, so a bidirectional, bicolor bezel with a third hand, you are looking at a Rolex design. So in 1954, Rolex introduced this watch, the GMT Master, for Pan Am commercial airline pilots, and it was the first watch capable of displaying 2 different time zones at the same time. Rolex literally invented this complication and genre of watch through a design that has stayed incredibly faithful to the first references. Anytime you see a watch with a bidirectional, bicolor bezel and dual time functionality, they are referencing the GMT Master in some capacity, and that's a part of what you're paying for. Design-wise, I wouldn't call any of these a ripoff of the GMT Master 2. They all have their own unique design language and quirks, so the Q Timex GMT is a reissue from their archives and most resembles the Rolex, but still different enough. The Seiko 5 GMT is quite different. The handset is different, dial layout, even the crown at 4 o'clock. I'd say it's a very Seiko take on the GMT complication. These all have different case sizes, with the Q Timex being 38mm, the Seiko 5 GMT at 42.5mm, and the Rolex at 40mm. From a wearing experience perspective, I like the Timex the most on me. I really like the proportions, but I like the way the Rolex feels the most. It has a nice heft to it, and I find it the most enjoyable to wear. In conclusion, for me, in this specific category, no design comes close to the Rolex GMT Master 2. Design is something that is so important to me and the work I do on this channel, but I am absolutely clueless at it. I can't create something out of nowhere. I need so much help, and this is where today's fabulous video sponsor comes in, Squarespace. If you are doing something awesome, maybe it's online selling cool stuff, maybe it's in person, whatever it is, you need a website so people can find you. Squarespace is the best website platform. They make it easy to create a beautiful website with their professionally curated templates, so you just have to choose which one speaks to you, and bam, make it happen. They even have their templates sorted into categories to make your life easier. You might be thinking, but Brittany, how will people find my gorgeous website? Don't worry, Squarespace has thought about that. They have integrated SEO tools to help you show up more often on search engines and attract your ideal customer. Whether you are selling physical products or content or services, Squarespace gives you everything you need to grow your brand, engage with your customers, and ship your products all in one place to simplify your workflow. You've got enough going on, your life is busy enough. Let Squarespace do the heavy lifting for boosting your online presence, baby. Head to squarespace.com/BritPierce if this is all sounding awesome to you. Use my link, it's in the description. You will receive a free trial, and when you are ready to go live, you will save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's pretty awesome. Go check them out, and thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, this is the category where we're going to see the biggest, most glaring differences. The Rolex uses far and away the most premium materials and has a much higher degree of build quality and finishing. For starters, we have the Cerachrome bezel, which is Rolex's proprietary ceramic in red and blue. I think a lot of watch enthusiasts have gotten used to high material standards, but the use of ceramic is a big step up, especially using red ceramic and the red-blue colorway. Red is famously a difficult color to work with when it comes to ceramic. It's complicated and costly, especially when you're doing it at the industrial scale and quality that is expected from Rolex. Even though these all have a stainless steel case material, the finishing on the Rolex is another level. It's finished to the degree that you expect from a luxury product, with brushed and polished surfaces, fine chamfer edges, and the build quality is solid. It's a few steps up. You can feel from the weight of it and just the way it feels in your hands. It's solid and extremely well constructed. Our mid-tier model, the Seiko, is still really good. I should have said this before. This is my personal Seiko 5 GMT. I love this watch. I think it's a lot of bang for buck, rough and ready, but it's certainly a step down in terms of quality. For starters, the bracelet feels a lot more flimsy, not as sturdy. It kind of reminds me of the Jingle Jangle vintage Rolex bracelets. And you can certainly see the difference when it comes to the clasp. The Rolex is the only model with on-the-fly micro adjustments. The Seiko does have micro adjust, but not on the fly, and you will need a tool to adjust. The bezel material is Hardlex crystal, which is their proprietary hardened mineral glass, and a lot less premium than ceramic. One way to look at it is the Rolex is 23 times more expensive than the Seiko. I wouldn't say you're getting 23 times the watch, but there's definitely a gulf in the level of finishing. Now, looking at our lower end Q Timex, it is yet another step down, an aluminium blue-red bezel, and this is our only quartz model, which definitely contributes to the price. I should say though, for the price, this is better than it should be. I actually really like the bracelet and clasp. It feels very 70s, 80s, really cool, but this is the only clasp with no form of micro adjustment. We are increasingly paying more for details and finishing than anything else, and I feel like this isn't talked about. Using Rolex as an example again, the main difference between Tudor and Rolex, and the whole reason for establishing Tudor watches in the first place, was to make Rolex designs more affordable through using Rolex cases, crowns, and clasps, but a lower end, more affordable movement to lower the price. That's what Tudor watches was. If we look at Rolex and Tudor now, Tudor has arguably better movements. Like Rolex, they are making in-house calibers, fantastic specifications, and even higher degree of external certification with adding METAS. But it is with the level of finishing and materials used on the actual watch where we see the biggest differences. They now have kind of parity movements, but sacrifice in the material and finishing. If I hold my Tudor Black Bay 54 next to a Rolex, the Rolex is undeniably nicer. The finishing is done to a higher degree. The brushing is finer. The proportions are nicer. The Rolex finishing and materials are just better. Now, moving on to the movements, there are some big differences here as well. And by this point you might be thinking, of course they're different, Brittany. One of these is $200 and one of these is $10,000. But the point of this video is showing the differences, showing where your money goes, and evaluating if that's actually worth it. Let's start with the Q Timex GMT, as this has the most different movement of the three. So this is powered by a quartz movement, which is quite noticeable through the tick. Functionally, this does the exact same thing, being the GMT and having the GMT complication, but this is a collar style rather than a true GMT. I'm not going to get into the deep weeds with this, but essentially, this means you set the GMT hand independently through the crown, whereas a true GMT, the local hour hand jumps positions by 1 hour increments, and it is considered a higher end complication. That's all I'm going to say on this. If you want to get into the deep weeds with that stuff, there's so much stuff out there. We're not doing it. The Seiko 5 GMT is functionally the same, so a collar style GMT with an automatic movement now, and this is a big reason why you see the increased price. I've said it once and I will say it again, the Seiko 5 GMT might be the best priced automatic GMT that money can buy. It's a niche title. This is fitted with the caliber 4R43, which has 41 hours of power reserve and an accuracy of +45 -35 seconds per day. In the world of luxury watches, this isn't a great accuracy rating, and that is reflected in the price. Lastly, the Rolex, an automatic movement once again with the caliber 3285. As I said before, this is a true GMT, which is considered a more premium complication, but it's in the accuracy and power reserve where we see our money going. So this has a 70-hour power reserve and Rolex superlative chronometer, meaning it is accurate within -2 +2 seconds per day, which is fantastic. This is one of the big reasons why people like me love Rolex so much. They're dependable, well-constructed, and dang accurate. In the movement department, I would say Rolex prioritizes function over form. They aren't the best looking or worst looking movements, but functionally, they're great. So this is essentially what you're paying for. Design, materials used, finishing, movements, and a bit of brand power recognition. This is why these three very similar looking watches have such different price tags, but the real question is it worth it? And each and every person will have a very different answer to that question. I always like to remember, getting into watches isn't a logical thing. I think we always like to rationalize our choices. We like to compare if there's good value for money, what's the best, most affordable things to get. But the truth is, there is no great value for money in this thing. It's expensive. If you're looking for a reasonable way to spend your money, watch collecting isn't the place. It's actually a lot more emotional than we like to think it is, and it's often important decisions for people. It's expensive, and it really depends on what you value, your personal budget, and what you find to be worth it. The Rolex is 23 times more expensive than the Seiko. Do I think it's 23 times the watch? Absolutely not. Do I like the Rolex more? Yeah. Can I afford the Rolex? Absolutely not, which is why I don't own it. This is my husband's watch. He let me use it for the video. I wish it was mine. The Timex is 48 times cheaper than the Rolex. Once again, each person's answer on if it's worth it will be very, very different, and it will be reflected through very unique circumstances. Only you can answer if it's worth it. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to do something a little bit different today. Let me know in the comments down below which one you think is the best watch of these three. Thank you once again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video, and Pope Tier patrons. Get their names on the screen. Pope Tier patrons, names on this screen, thank you so much for supporting my weird little channel. Thank you all tier patrons. But this moment is for the Pope Tiers. Thank you so much. I hope you keep enjoying my weird little channel. I hope you keep enjoying I thought it stopped recording, but it didn't. A little heart attack. Thank you for supporting my channel. I hope you keep enjoying it. I love making these videos, and you guys keep the lights on here at Gringa HQ. Mwah, 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 mwah. You're amazing. Bye, guys.